Today, we're going to dive into a really profound idea, the complete union of a human soul with God. Now, I know that can feel impossibly abstract, right? But what if we could make it totally clear? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do, using some powerful metaphors from a classic spiritual text.
And really, this is the core question, isn't it? Can this union be more than just a nice poetic idea? Is it actually possible for a person to get to this state of perfect connection with the divine? Well, according to our source material, the answer is a huge yes, but how you get there is incredibly specific.
So here's our roadmap. First, we'll define what this divine union even is. Then, we'll look at two crucial kinds of connection. After that, we'll unpack a couple of amazing metaphors, a window in the sunlight and looking at a masterpiece that lead us to this final incredible idea of becoming God by participation.
All right, let's start with the goal itself. What does this union really mean? Because we're not just talking about some fleeting feeling or a brief moment of inspiration. Nope, the text is describing something way more permanent and way more profound. This right here is the destination, a total and permanent union. Just try to imagine that. Every single part of your soul, your mind, your memory, your will, all brought into a perfect, lasting unity with God. This isn't a temporary state, it's a complete fundamental transformation of your entire being.
Okay, now to really get this, we have to understand a super important distinction. The text says there are two very different ways a soul connects to God. And trust me, if you get these two mixed up, the whole concept just falls apart. So, let's break them down.
First up is what's called the substantial union. You can think of this as the basic foundational connection. It's the idea that God is present in every single soul, constantly keeping it in existence. And the text is really clear. This applies to everyone, from a saint to, and I'm quoting here, the greatest sinner in the world. It's the very fabric of our being.
But then you have the second type, the union of likeness. And this one is a whole different ballgame. It is not a given, it has to be achieved. It's a supernatural state where the soul's will aligns so perfectly with God's will that there's absolutely no conflict left. This is the transformation we're talking about.
So here's the key difference in a nutshell. The substantial union is natural, it just is, but the union of likeness is supernatural. It's a process. One just sustains our being, while the other, achieved through love and grace, actually perfects our being. You could say one is the starting point for everyone, and the other is the ultimate goal.
Okay, this is where the whole idea really starts to click. To make this tangible, the text gives us this brilliant metaphor. Just picture a pane of glass in a window. That's the soul. Now picture a ray of sunlight. That's God. Simple, right?
So here's how the whole process plays out. At first, the window is smudged and dirty. These are what the text calls our habitual imperfections. The sunlight is always there, but it can't really shine through all that grime. So, the spiritual journey is basically the act of cleaning that window, stripping away everything that's blocking the light. And as it gets cleaner, the light gets brighter, until finally, the window is perfectly clear, ready for total illumination.
And this is the result. When that window is perfectly clean, the sunlight doesn't just pass through it, it completely transforms it. The window becomes so filled with light that it actually appears to be light itself. To anyone looking, the window and the sunlight seem to be one and the same.
But here's the most crucial detail of the entire metaphor. Even in this state of total illumination, the window is still a window. Its fundamental nature hasn't changed. It hasn't become the sun. It has become light by participation. It shares in the qualities of the light so completely that it seems to be one with it, while always remaining distinct. This point is absolutely critical to understanding the whole thing.
So a natural question comes up. If a bunch of souls reach this state of union, is the experience the same for all of them? Well, the text uses another great metaphor to explain why the answer is actually no. This time, it's about looking at a masterpiece of art.
So imagine a perfect, flawless painting, one filled with tons of intricate details and subtle little flourishes. The painting itself is complete, offering this almost infinite depth of beauty to anyone who stops to look at it.
Now imagine a few different people looking at this same painting. One person might only make out the basic shapes. Another, maybe with better eyesight, sees a lot more of the detail. But the viewer with the clearest vision of all, they perceive the greatest depth, the subtlest perfections, the true genius of the work. And it's the exact same with the soul's union with God. God is the perfect masterpiece, and each soul, based on its own unique capacity, experiences that union differently. The experience is proportioned to the soul's ability to receive it. Every soul in this state is completely fulfilled, for sure, but the depth of that fulfillment can actually vary.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most staggering claim in the whole text. What does it actually feel like for the soul that has reached this complete union? What is this final transformation all about?
The text gives it a name, a participant transformation. It's a state where the soul's actions actually become one with God's actions. The soul isn't just trying to imitate God anymore, it's acting with God, sharing directly in the divine nature.
And here it is, maybe the most powerful line in the entire text. The transformation is so complete that the soul will appear to be God himself and will possess what God himself possesses. I mean, wow. That's the ultimate fulfillment of that window metaphor, just completely and totally illuminated by the sun.
But, one last time, the text brings us back to that vital clarification. The soul becomes God by participation. It's a creature sharing in the Creator's life. Just like the window, its own nature remains distinct. It is not destroyed, it is not absorbed, it is fulfilled, perfected, and illuminated, all while still, fundamentally, remaining itself.
So after all of that, the text really leaves us with one very personal question. It takes that central metaphor and brings it right back to our own lives. If the goal is to let that divine light shine through completely, what is clouding your window?